going on, boys? It's Daddy Big. Welcome back to the podcast. And today, I am back with my favorite tall boy, Danny.
Hey guys, Daniel Sturdy here.
He is very tall. You
I-
can't see him, but he is.
I am quite tall. I'm above average actually.
But I'm a little bit below average. Anyways.
You're perfect.
Aw.
You're perfect.
Aw, thank you. But anyways, so today we have, I guess at a surface level, it's quite a bit more of a serious topic.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's about mental health stuff directly, but kind of talking about dissociation, which is really just, I mean, I guess I'll turn it over to you. How would you define that?
In my ways of like experiencing dissociation, it's been a growing increase of apathy and like a lack of caring.
That makes sense.
Yeah, like becoming distant from your emotions, and feeling like the emotions you feel aren't real or aren't valid to feel.
Interesting.
I mean, I can, if you'd like, I can just jump right in with one of my examples.
I guess yeah, we'll get there, but I guess my experience with dissociation is more just feeling, for me it's more of less of a gradual overall life perspective and more of a momentary thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that my experiences with it have been well, it is pretty common to be dissociative if you're on the brink of a mental breakdown,
Mm-hmm.
starting to like lose grasp of yourself, that kind of thing. But I think, sometimes for me it was just feeling like I wasn't really there.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling like I'm floating, like I'm disconnected from my body, like I'm just watching my life in the third person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's where it came in for me. And I think I am lucky to be naturally pretty mentally healthy. I think most of my main dissociative experience I've had were from periods of my life of extreme stress, such as a worldwide pandemic. Or another one was I was actually taking Accutane because I had chronic acne way back in the day.
Yo, I took Accutane too.
Let's go. But yeah, I took it, and it wasn't very obvious, but after enough time it became clear that the pill was having pretty big effects on my mental health.
Yep.
It was causing me to have very extreme emotions. I would have like periods of like extreme, almost like euphoria, and then periods of like extreme depression,
Mm-hmm.
and then other periods of just
Feeling
nothing.
nothing.
And that was the dissociative part.
Yep. So,
yeah, I mean, did you want to, if you wanted to share any stories at all, you can, or I can talk a little bit.
So I also went on Accutane, and my doctor told me that there have been some cases of Accutane affecting one's mental health. My doctor said that they hadn't seen it very much. So
Yeah.
don't be worried, pretty much, because it probably won't happen to you.
That was the same thing that happened to me.
Yep.
But like every person I've talked to that's been on it has had problems. So
Yep.
I don't know.
And I left there feeling happy, actually, because I knew that Accutane was gonna fix my acne.
Yeah.
And I mean, hey, if the worst that happens is I have dry skin from it, then that's a pretty good trade-off.
Yeah.
Until I I didn't really notice it at first.
And that's the thing, is it just creeps in.
Yeah.
And it really takes other people watching you and keeping you in check, like, hey man, like what's going on?
And that's actually what happened for me. My mom and both of my parents said, hey, like, you're not yourself. Like, what's going on? I had friends reach out to me and say, like, hey, I've noticed that, you don't seem like yourself. Like, are you okay? And I went through a breakup when I was on Accutane, and it was after some of my family and friends had come out and been like, hey, we've noticed that you're not really yourself. I noticed it when I didn't care that I had been broken up with. I didn't cry, which I'll plug. Men should cry. It is healthy to cry.
For real.
But I didn't cry. I got over it in like a day, which is uncommon for me. I'm usually a pretty big feeler of emotions. So that was the wake up call that, oh, I'm not doing okay. And
Yeah. I know what you mean.
I went to therapy because of it.
So you didn't at first think it was the Accutane.
No, I knew
Did you?
I knew it was the Accutane.
Oh, so did you cease taking it? Or did you keep taking it and go to therapy?
I had like a month left on.
Oh, so you'd been taking it for a while?
Yeah, I'd been taking it for a while. You take it for like 6 to 8 months.
That's crazy. I took it for like a few weeks before I got off of it.
Oh damn. Yeah, my acne was really bad.
Yeah, mine was too, but
yeah, I was on it for I think 6 months in total.
wow.
And I noticed it around the 5-month mark, and I told my doctor. I said, "Hey, people have been, commenting. I've noticed." And my doctor said, "All right, here are your options. You can stop taking the drug.
Mm-hmm.
You can continue. You can stop. You can not finish this month because it was like a week in. So I had basically 2 months left. He said you can stop taking it. You can finish the month and then call it quits after there, or you can finish it out this month and next month, and then just be done with it." And my doctor recommended that if I chose the latter option of finishing it out completely, that I should go and see someone. So I did. I went to therapy, and
Did you finish the treatment?
I did. I finished the treatment.
Really?
Yeah, I finished all 6 months, which I'm glad I did, because the self-confidence issues of acne were worse than the dissociation and depression.
So it was worth it for you then?
Yeah, for me it was worth it.
Interesting.
Not necessarily the case for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, for me it was like the majority of my acne was on my chest and my back. My face looked pretty all right, so I wasn't really that torn up about it. It was more so a thing of like, it kind of sucked, I was self-conscious about like, mostly just like, like going to like the beach or the pool and having
Taking
like
your shirt off.
Yeah, that was like what made me self-conscious. It wasn't a big deal for me. I've been lucky enough to never really have body image problems that much at all. But I understand that's a big thing for a lot of people,
Yeah.
And I mean, if I had it more on my face, I probably would have. But for me, it was more so a thing of like, my mental health was number one, and if this pill is making me, emotionally literally emotionally and mentally unstable, it just wasn't. That was not worth it for me, But I guess I can understand where you're coming from there, of just wanting to get rid of it so bad that you were just gonna, especially since you were so far into it. I had just started.
Yeah, I was not fortunate enough to have like easily concealable acne.
Yeah.
In the sense that mine was like all on my face, and it was severe like cystic acne. So it's not the stuff that like you can pop
Yeah,
day
cysts
of.
are
And,
gross.
yeah.
I've had one on my back for like 3 years.
It was gross. It was painful. It was
Probably longer than
red.
that.
And I wanted it gone.
Yeah, I mean, facial acne is a whole different beast because, I mean, especially since, people that have a tendency to pick at their acne and stuff, you can just scar your face.
Oh yeah, and
forever,
I'm a scab picker through and through. I'm an acne picker. Like, this was back in sophomore year for me. So, it was at the point where like high school bullies, like they're not like the movie, but also like it
very true.
It was starting to get to the point where like I am picturing myself as a victim of, a movie high school bully like scene. And it was probably like my self-image issues coming into play as well, but I figured it was worth it to clear up my outside appearance first and then work on my inside appearance afterward. And I think that was where I first experienced like severe mental and emotional dissociation, because there would be times where it'd be 7 p.m. and I'd sit in my room from 7 till 11 when I eventually fell asleep, just staring at a wall or crying about nothing. And it was really hard. And what made it even harder is, my doctor said, "Hey, like, finish this drug and go get therapy," pretty much. And my therapist, and this, for anyone listening who may be going through a similar issue, just because one therapist didn't work doesn't mean all therapists won't work.
Very true.
I
You need to find the right person for you there.
Exactly. I had a really bad first therapist. So bad so that on the last day that I went to see her, I came in prepared to say, "Hey, I'm not seeing the changes that I'd like to see. Can we meet once a week?" Because we had been meeting every other week. Before I could say that, my therapist said, "I'm not too worried about where you are mentally. I don't think we need to meet with each other more than once a month."
That's rough.
Yeah. So it was very clear that
Just wasn't the move.
Yeah,
for that person.
It wasn't right. And so I made the choice to stop seeing that therapist, because that was what was best for me. Sorry, I've been rambling for a while. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
I mean, yeah, it's like for both of us, we've had that experience from, side effects of something. But I think, again, like I said, I'm fortunate enough to not have any like chronic mental health problems. But in 2020, with the coronavirus and everything, I was struggling. I think being away from everyone, being locked up in my room like that, I think that had a big toll on me personally. I think it brought me a lot of stress. Like one example is I took driver's training pretty late, but I was taking driver's training during that time, and driving was like a fear of mine. I didn't do very well with it. It stressed me out a lot. Obviously now I'm fine with it, but that's just an example of like I was just stressed and couldn't handle very much stress. And I actually, I thought that I had some sort of something going on, and I saw a professional, and it turns out I don't have anything like that. It was more so just a product of other things that I won't get into. But during that time was one of those moments where I had a dissociative experience. I had actually just gone to get my the chair squeaking at some point.
It's very squeaky.
I had just gone to get my first vaccine? I don't know. I was going to get one of my vaccines, and I drove there. And on the way back, we were on the highway, and I was just nervous about it. I was just stressed, anxious, and I don't know, all these things just piled up on me. Just all the stresses I'd been having with driving, and I just started to like, because I think something dangerous happened. Like there was a little bit of a it wasn't anything major, but just like a small situation just set me off. And from there, I immediately started dissociating, you know? And let me tell you, driving on the highway at 75 miles per hour is not a good time to be dissociating.
Not really. No.
So the stress got way worse because I started to feel like I was losing control in a situation where I needed to have complete control. So then I start frantically crying. And my mom is like, oh boy, let's go off that exit. And then, you know, I'm bawling I can like barely see as I'm getting off this exit, just parking just in a random parking lot somewhere. And then I just remember clear as day my mom getting out of the car and me getting out of the car and her just hugging me and just saying to me, we'll get you some help. Well, we need to talk to someone about this kind of thing, right? And that was just like a time where, I mean, you know, coming out of school at the time, I had just started to find friends that cared about me. You know, before then, I was just bouncing back and forth with either nobody or bad friends. I had just started to find people that did care about me, and then we weren't able to see each other. Everything was locked down, and I just think it was just the perfect storm of, and also a relationship that did not end very well, that did not go very well. And just all of these different factors, along with just my stresses with the world, just led to me being probably the most mentally fragile I've ever been in my life. And that led me to, I mean, I thought that there was, I mean, again, like, I'll say that in a second. I thought there was something wrong with me, you know? And let me make it very clear, having a chronic mental condition or mental illness or something like that, like depression or GAD or ADHD or anything like that, the things that I thought that I had, that doesn't mean at all there's something wrong with you. But my point is that that's what I thought about myself.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure that's what a lot of people do think. But yeah, and the other time for me was when I was on Accutane. I just remember like I said, there would be times of euphoria and times of depression. Times when I would just like lay in my bed and just cry for hours, and my mom couldn't even get a word out of me explaining what was wrong. And other times, I remember I was playing at a concert, and I was just being like way over the top, like getting into it like way more than I had any right to, and just like overperforming, and just like it felt amazing, right, in the moment. But afterwards, after I was off the medicine and started to reflect about it, I remember just crying about remembering that experience, because it was just so overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know? And that was just something that, like, I never really realized that at the time, you know, but looking back, that experience is kind of, I don't know, it's kind of haunting in a way. In like a strange way, to know that was just, that wasn't me.
Yeah.
You know? To know that, and I guess really, like, even though it wasn't directly dissociation, it was like I wasn't myself in a bit of a different sense. You know? And I just remember, for an actual example of dissociative behavior, I went to this class. It was this college class, and it was like this free thing that this university was offering. It was like a day where you could go, and it was like a jazz day where you could go and like play with the jazz faculty and like learn some basic stuff and play some stuff. And I remember I had been really excited about it, and I went to it, and that day was, when I talked about living in the third person, I felt like I wasn't even in my own body. You know, I was just going through the motions so stilly, and I just remember I didn't actually have to leave, but I remember I just like I went up to one of the instructors like 2 hours before it was over. And I was like, "Hey, I gotta go. You know, it's something." I remember I like made something up. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yeah, I have an appointment or something," and I left. I just couldn't handle it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and that was just I think that was probably the time when I started to think about why that was all happening. And the thing is, like, I wasn't really in the state to reflect on it and realize what was wrong. I just started to have this like muffled internal panic of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But even that was drowned out, you know? It was like everything was just mushy
Yeah.
and just I felt like I was just being tossed around, you know? And that's why just like when I got off of the medicine, call it medicine. But when I got off of the pill, you know, the Accutane, it was like it was just overwhelming looking back and realizing all those experiences I had that it just wasn't even me.
Yeah.
I just was living like as a husk for like a few weeks. And like I'm glad I got off of when I did, but you know, that was just crazy to look back on, you
Yeah.
know. But I think really the only other examples are things I've seen from other people. I think the time that I witnessed my girlfriend have a panic attack in front of me was probably the most distraught I had ever been in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Because
You just feel so helpless.
there was nothing I could do to bring her back from that. And I literally just watched her break down step by step in front of me. And yeah, it's just, I mean,
It's hard.
I'm getting choked up just thinking about it right now. It was
Mm-hmm.
just, I, and this was when our relationship was still very young, so I didn't know her as well. But yeah, that's just, I mean, like, I know, and this is the thing is like just, it's really hard to see dissociation and things like that happen in people you care about,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because I mean, you know, for a short time, I put people through that, you know, people watching me deteriorate over time in that way. But seeing it happen to people you care about is really hard, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, have you ever, if if you're okay sharing any experiences where you've seen people in your life break down like that?
Yeah. I've had I saw my mom break down actually, and
Hmm.
that was really hard because
I bet.
it was I've seen it a couple times. The one time that I'm going to share about right now, this is a more personal Daniel story.
Yeah.
And it was my junior year. We had a musical that I was a part of where my character needed to have shorter hair than what I had.
Mm-hmm.
And I reluctantly cut my hair. And for me, that haircut was a lot more than a haircut because it brought back all of the self-image and body issues that I had tried very hard to push down and push away. So it impacted me a lot more than a haircut probably should. And I talked to my mom about it, and I made her promise me that she wasn't going to say anything about it to anyone. And she promised, and then she broke that promise. And I was very hurt, and I let my hurt manifest, and I shut my mom out. And I stopped talking to her. More than just like a one-word response, like, "Oh, how was your day, honey?" Fine. That was the extent of our conversations. And that went on for a couple months.
Wow.
Which was really, really hard. Because I mean, every child wants to love their parent and wants to love their mom, and I love my mom. I do love my mom. I was just very hurt in that instance. And I remember one day she asked me if I would go to one of her choir concerts, and I told her that I'd see if I could. And then I don't remember what happened after that sparked the fight, but from her asking me to go to one of her concerts to me saying I don't know if I could, somehow we got into a fight where she said, where she called me out and said, "You're being very unfair to me right now." It was after my car crash. Yeah, so from like early February to, I want to say, late March. That was the period of time where our relationship had stagnated and we weren't really communicating. And I had gotten into a car crash. A car crash that I'm, by the grace of God, whatever might be out there, I walked out fine. Car was totaled. I hit a tree in a giant mailbox at 40 miles per hour, but I was fine. And the fight between me and my mom started because she said, "I almost lost my kid, and now my kid won't even talk to me." And I called her out and I said, "You broke my trust." And she said, I don't remember all of the details of the fight, but I watched her break down in front of me saying, "The day that I almost lost my kid, he didn't even say I love you as he walked out the door." And I felt so helpless in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, just at that point, just this whole idea you built up for yourself of, oh, I don't want to, that whole thing of trying not to talk to your mom and having that whole thing go on, and then just having it all come to that moment where, because I mean, there's the whole teenage idea of like desperately wanting the approval and love of your parents, but at the same time
not wanting to show like you want it.
This inexplicable defiance and that kind of thing. I mean, you understand. Sounds like you've been through it, but it was the same thing where like, I had a rocky relationship with my dad for the longest time because we just always at odds with each other, just didn't get along, didn't think the same way. And, it was like, I just remember one day, like, my mom started crying, talking about how, like, it was, like, breaking her heart, the thought that I, like, wouldn't have a relationship with him, And it's just like that, or other times where, like, I would just completely break down talking to my dad and just start, like, blubbering about, like, how like how I just wanted him to be proud of me, and like through all of it, that was like all I ever wanted. And every time he would say that, like, I don't even know what you're talking about, of course I'm proud of you, but it's just, so I really do understand that wanting that relationship with a parent where,
yeah,
and then they call you out for it and say something like that, and then it's just like, I mean, makes you feel just horrible.
Awful. Like,
yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt your story.
No, you're okay. I wasn't, like, when I stopped talking to my mom, it wasn't even like it wasn't an "I hate you." It wasn't like a you're dead to me type thing. It was a "I'm hurt," and it was an "I want to be heard." And I want the advice and the help and the listening and whatever it is I need, I want that to go only as far as I want it to go. And I think the reason why I felt so inclined to, shut off that relationship for a while is because, I mean, when I make a promise to someone, I keep that promise. When someone makes a promise to me, I intend that promise to be kept.
Yeah.
And it hurt even more that it was my own mom who couldn't keep that promise to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with the idea of dissociating and growing apathetic of emotions, I think that fight with my mom was probably the last time I genuinely cried. And
I know what you mean by that.
It wasn't me crying at a TV show character's death. It wasn't me crying at a sad song. It was me feeling all of these emotions and the only outlet being, tears and sadness.
Just body racking sobbing.
Yeah. And let me tell you something, I am an ugly crier.
I understand that as well.
But I want to, this might sound weird, but I want to cry more. I want to feel more. I want to know that the emotions I'm feeling, or the emotions that I should be feeling, are actually there.
Yeah.
I was in a weird spot with this girl who I've always had feelings for. And we've been on again, off again, will they, won't they, all that fun stuff. Yeah. And it finally got to the point where she initiated being on again. And I was so happy. I was so excited, because, why wouldn't I be? And we made it. We made it a couple weeks of trying to figure out what we were and what was happening. And then she cut it off because she realized it wasn't what she wanted. And that really hurt because she started it.
Yeah.
And it would have been so much easier for the both of us individually and for our friendship if nothing happened, because we were fine as friends. I had been hurt for a while afterwards. But in the same dissociative way, I didn't cry. I didn't give myself room to feel what I was feeling, and it's gotten to the point where sometimes I worry that I'm not capable of feeling intense emotions anymore. Just because I don't know, things can happen in someone's life, and then you or I'll use myself because I'm the example. Things can happen in my life that should produce a very intense emotional reaction, and my response is just an okay, shit happens.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. What is now 2.5 months ago on the podcast, I believe you, was this, I don't remember which one it was, but, you talked about how you had asked one of our friends the question of, are you taking a leading role in your life?
Are you playing an active role in your life?
Yeah, that one.
Yep.
And I think that's that circles back to this whole idea of dissociation. When you first, and I think like I said at first, you asking that question says to me that you have had experiences that would make you ask that to someone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I guess especially when I asked you to define dissociation and you talked about a general apathy towards life, a general life outlook, whereas for me it's a very momentary thing. you know I guess that just brings me to ask you that question, because it seems to me like
I think
this is all coming from somewhere for you.
I think and I could be wrong. I haven't lived your experiences, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to play like a pissing contest of who dissociates the hardest.
Yeah. I'm just pointing out the difference in. It seems you think of it as more of a general, long-term kind of experience, whereas I think of it as being in the moment.
Yeah, I think the general long-term belief in my sense comes from an extended period of short-term in the moment bursts that you've gone through.
More of just saying more of just an overtime, like a condition that where just this, it comes in short bursts, but overall it's a dissociative time in your life where
Mm-hmm.
you're not connected to your emotions and
Yeah.
taking more of a like emotional approach to it.
Yeah, I guess in a way, dissociation is always. I think it's both, actually. I think it's something where it's always there, and that's why it feels like this looming, general apathy. But in reality, it is short bursts because
yeah.
I mean,
it's like it's episodic.
Yeah,
but
I can feel when I can excuse me. I can tell when I'm getting bad, and like when things are bad for me, like my room will be messy, and I'll ease up on my homework and on my extracurriculars. Like I can tell when things are getting bad for me. But there are also a lot of good days,
mm-hmm.
like where I genuinely have a very positive outlook on life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think it's something that is kind of overlooked in society.
Yeah, and I mean, like, getting back to what I was asking you about, you said that you're scared that you don't feel intense emotion anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that, like, do you think that you're in like an overall dissociative period of your life right now? Like, do you feel connected with yourself? Like, do you feel like again, like that whole active role thing? Do you feel like you're living like in the first person, or are you feeling like you're watching events play out?
Wow. That's.
I mean, you asked someone this question in real
Yeah.
time as a recording. You asked someone this the other day, and again, it's like immediately that made me think like where that came from for you.
So, you asked a couple questions, and I want to answer all of them because they're all valid questions.
And you don't have to answer all of them on mic either.
No,
This
it's
can
okay.
be a later thing. But
I feel. See, and now I'm trying to think about it. I'll go with the ones that I know I can answer right now.
all right.
I am playing an active role in my own life.
Mm-hmm.
That I know. And I was asked this question by my older brother in reference to the failed relationship that I was mentioning previously. And he asked me, he said, Daniel, you have had so many opportunities in the past where you've thought that something could happen.
Mm-hmm.
This girl who you really, really like, you think there's something there, but you wait. And by the time you figure it out that there was something there, you've waited too long and the moment's passed. And he said that about this other person as well, and said, Daniel, are you playing an active role in your own life, or are you letting things happen to you?
So the whole question for you came from someone asking you that.
Yes.
And that experience of realizing that maybe you weren't. Because
Yes.
I know that you have a very seize the day kind of mentality now, where you don't want to let things go to waste anymore.
Yeah.
And I guess that would have come from your past and having felt like you let things go.
Mm-hmm. And that's where it came from, because, you know, I've had, as far as relationships, I've had plenty of relationships that could have been something if I'd seized the day a little bit sooner.
Mm-hmm.
I think that being present in your own life is a very very important key to combating apathy and dissociation.
For sure.
Because I think dissociation starts when you start to view your life as someone else's life that you're witnessing. You know, that third person mentality, when you are watching yourself almost like a video game character that you're in control of, where things happen to you, and sure, maybe you control it, but there's also plenty of video games where you have, you know, forced dialogue and things that you can't control, and you start to believe that you can't control every aspect of your life. And I think talking about it really helps. I mean, this session in particular has helped me realize quite a bit in that I don't think I'm in a dissociative period of my life. I think I was.
Yeah.
I know I was.
But maybe there's an opportunity for a little bit of self-reflection.
Exactly. And I think being in that place really helped me, because I learned a lot about myself, and like I said, I now know how to catch it when I can feel myself getting bad again.
Yeah. I mean, like, I went through so many bad friendships and relationships.
Mm-hmm.
You know, literally in elementary school, I didn't have good friends. There were times I didn't have friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was the story of my life all the way through 8th grade, when I finally met people that actually cared about me. You know, but I just took all of this, like, just bullshit from people. And, like, it was all terrible. Don't get me wrong.
But
like,
it's all you knew.
Well, that's not my point. My point is that after having had all those experiences, I now have such a staunch approach to my own relationships with people.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like, take an example, right? After I broke up with my last girlfriend, my last ex, I realized that, well, we were very attracted to each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our relationship was good, like, when we were in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then a series of events happened, and we realized that we just weren't meant to be with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because, first of all, our life morals and goals just weren't the same. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
But also just, you know, when our faces weren't attached to each other, we realized that, like, we just didn't, our personalities didn't work with each other. Yeah. You know, we wouldn't be able to live together. We would, like, she would have killed me. You know, and it's like, that was a really hard thing, because both of us realized that at the same time. And then we started, like, we just called each other and we were like, hey, just one of us was like, hey, I was just kind of thinking. And then it just grew, like, literally, like, we just called each other that we both had the same thought. And then an hour later, we're both crying, distraught that we're breaking up with each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but every relationship I had taught me something about myself, you know. And that one in particular taught me that I need, first and foremost, to find somebody that will take me for who I am and will care about me. And we talked about a while ago bringing multiple things full circle here. We talked about your true self, right?
Yep.
About how it's a blend of different things.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, true love is when you love every part of somebody.
Yeah.
Every side of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember my girlfriend now. I remember one time I was with her at a get together with a bunch of my friends, and we were playing Jackbox,
Mm-hmm.
and we were playing like Mad vs. City, and I just remember like I was going the usual homoerotic reps, just like just like ridiculous stuff.
As you usually do.
Yeah, and just like that was just like the totally like unhinged, goofy side of me,
Uh-huh.
and just seeing her laugh at me just made me really realize that this is a girl that like loves every part of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so lucky that I found someone like that,
Yeah.
because like that was what I learned from my last relationship, is that you need someone who will take you if you're like, who will appreciate you when you're around your friends in public,
Mm-hmm.
appreciate you when it's just the two of you, appreciate you, when you're down in life, when you do go through those dissociative times when you don't know who you are.
Yeah.
And for me, for writing, I guess another example I never really thought about that is kind of in a completely different way a dissociative experience is when I get inspired with my music,
Mm-hmm.
it takes over me.
Yeah.
And I just become like a machine.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like all these, it literally takes over my life,
Mm-hmm.
all of these musical ideas and thoughts. I just have, like, I become a vehicle for the ideas, and I just have to pour it all out.
Mm-hmm.
And there'll be times when like I'll just write straight through for like 5 hours, like 8 hours, like something insane. Then after that, I'm just completely exhausted, and it's like, I mean, think about like every single composer ever, like back in the day, was literally like batshit insane.
Yeah.
And like
They'd sit there and they'd lock themselves in their room for days finishing symphonies.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, is like I've felt the taste of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if I really let that in, then I would probably go crazy too. Like I feel like that's what all these people have experienced. And it's just, for me, like that's literally like losing myself in the music,
Mm-hmm.
And like I feel like that's what composers go through, and why like some of them have a few screws loose, you know, because it's like, for me, my girlfriend is like the last line of defense between me losing my shit. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I get what you're saying.
Like, she keeps me grounded,
Mm-hmm.
and she keeps me in check, and makes sure that, and that's one of the things that I love most, is that when I'm with her is when I feel the most human.
Mm-hmm. It's when you feel like you're most yourself.
Exactly.
To go full circle on another thing we talked about.
Exactly. But that's just like the exact opposite of the dissociation, right? And I guess it was a really interesting take I'm having now, because I never really thought of it.
Dissociation doesn't have to always be negative.
Yeah, it can be that getting lost in the things you're doing,
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like,
dissociation is getting lost in yourself. Whether it's something you love, or something you're doing, or emotions you're feeling, it can be good or it can be bad, but it's perceiving yourself perceiving whatever it is you're going through.
Exactly. And it's just so important to me to, when I'm floating away and getting lost in the clouds like a little helium balloon, there's still her all the way down on Earth, holding me by a little string. And she can tug me back if she needs to,
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I mean, yeah, I'm just talking about my girlfriend as like a part of my life, but that's the thing I learned, is that, I needed someone like that for me, know, and it's just, I guess, to circle back from whatever you were talking about 16 minutes ago, it was like, going through things makes you learn about yourself, and it's like, yeah, I went through some terrible things with friends, and things were not good for a long time. But, all of these experiences bring us to being who we are now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's made me stronger,
Yeah.
So, yeah. we've really
talked
really
for
been
quite
everywhere.
a bit on this one.
Yeah, it's we are at 50 minutes.
Nice.
I thought, honestly, when I went over to lean over and check the time, I thought it was going to be maybe 35, but no.
Oh, no.
Shoot.
I think this is just such a beautiful topic to talk on.
Yeah, we hit everything.
Yeah.
I think.
Yes, we did.
I don't even know what the hell I'm going to title this one now.
Yeah.
Maybe something like, how would we even sum this up? Dissociation versus living actively or something?
Yeah. Living an active role in your life, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know.
Which,
But we really cracked this one open, didn't we?
yeah, we did. And
Yeah. I mean, was there anything you wanted, like, on anything we've talked about? Anything you wanted to conclude on or draw to a
Really?
final little pretty bow?
really just like you brought up, are you playing an active role in your own life? Like, are you trying for your own betterment, or are you just sitting hoping something good will happen to you?
Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah.
For every podcast, I write a little thesis of what we talked about for the description, and I don't even know what I'm gonna say for this.
Good luck with this one.
Good
dude.
luck with this one, but yeah, I mean, I think it was really interesting how, I mean, like, you pressed that question into Lucas, a friend of ours, and the fact that I was able to make you really just stop and just be like, whoa, when I took that and just accuse you.
You pressed it into me.
I basically said, hey, I'm pretty sure this came from somewhere. Tell me why.
Uh-huh.
And
it did.
Yeah. And I think we both learned quite a bit about ourselves in the past
hour-ish.
52 minutes. Yeah. I gotta keep our sessions a little more under control, man. but
Just
no.
start putting a timer.
Yeah.
It's like
for real,
once this rings, we gotta stop.
I mean, I think anywhere from a half hour to an hour is about the general range,
Yeah.
And I mean,
range.
there are alpha male assholes out there who talk about misogyny for 2 hours straight. So I think I'm doing okay.
Andrew Tate. Sorry.
Well, he's just the figurehead. He's just the martyr,
Yeah. At least when we're talking about stuff like, I mean,
It was really funny. One of my friends, I remember when I first started my podcast, I was talking to someone, and I mentioned having a podcast, and they just immediately looked at me and were like, "Oh, do you have an alpha male podcast?"
No.
It's so funny. Like,
no, you have a podcast where you talk about. I mean, for this one, you talked about mental health, which is something that is not talked about enough, and
for sure.
especially like, I mean. For men, mental health is definitely not given enough light.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, Sam, now, like, what, 5 months ago?
Uh-huh.
I mean, I talked about what it means to be a man, and we got
yeah.
a lot into, living as a man in today's society and all that, and that just, it is important to talk about this stuff, and I think, we both got really intimate with some stories we told,
Mm-hmm.
and I just let you talk for, like, 10 minutes, and just... Yeah, I had to turn up the gain on your mic because you really feeling
Yeah, I was
really feeling introspective, but yeah, I don't know what else there is to be said.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wow. All right, well,
listeners, play an active role in your own life.
There you go, boys. I guess, yeah, I'm damn near dissociated after all the mental hoops I've jumped through in the past hour, but yeah, so just. I don't know, boys. I'll see. I gotta go take a nap or stare at a wall for a few hours or something.
Daddy big.
Really, I gotta eat. I haven't had breakfast in a while, but
Oh yeah.
oh, I did have breakfast. I haven't eaten since then. I can't even think straight. Daddy big.
Out.